Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 40 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the warm and comfortable confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. Episode 40 today, we're going to be touching on some other NFL news and notes that I didn't get to touch on. I kind of left out from the last episode. In this episode, we're going to go over first and foremost the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey getting his contract extension. Excuse me. Big ups to Christian McCaffrey, who came from Carolina. Looking back at that trade for him, that was a fucking steal by the 49ers. Money well spent. I got to give props to this guy because he's been arguably the best running back in football outside of pre-Nick Chubb injury. And we would have probably said Nick Chubb, but this guy was vying for it then. He's probably been the best running back in the game for the past 4 or 5 years. Money well deserved. I mean, let's be honest, he is the 49ers offense. Without him, they can't really even do shit. So, kudos to Christian McCaffrey. Money well deserved, man. You deserved it. And kind of puts to bed that rumor, that he wasn't away because of the contract. He was just away for other things. Yeah, bullshit. He wanted that money. And now that he's got it, shout out to Christian McCaffrey. This next factoid that I'm going to go over was actually just sifted out of, because I told you guys I have a subscription to The Athletic. This is actually was on the Athletic Football Show, which is their podcast that they hold. They spoke with Damien Harris over the weekend, which was quite interesting. He spoke on a wide variety of things, but one of the main things that he talked about that was a bulletin point was his comments on Mac Jones and the Patriots and their coaching failures following last season. And we all know that, the Patriots definitely didn't live up to their hype and definitely didn't do anything of what we thought they could possibly do last year. I mean, they were shit. They were dog shit. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL. Obviously, that's why they had a top 3 pick. Reading Damien Harris's quotes, though, were very deep. He was asked, what happened to Mac Jones? And, quote, what happened in New England to Mac Jones was because of the fact you took away an offensive coordinator who coached him to be a Pro Bowler and almost coached us to winning our division with a rookie quarterback. And you replace him with a special teams coordinator. It just speaks to the hubris that Bill Belichick had at that season, where it was my way or the highway. And, some guys are great. And we're knowing in this conversation, I'm not doubting Bill Belichick's greatness, but I do think all great coaches, Andy Reid at the end of Philadelphia, Bill at the end of New England, maybe Tom Landry, some of you old heads who can remember vividly Tom Landry at the end of the Dallas run. It just seems like they start making decisions that don't make no fucking sense. Where it's like, why would I put this guy here or this here? But it's because you've earned so much carte blanche that you just feel like your hubris and your pride will overcome all, and your ego will show that anything can work. And it just goes to show one of the reasons why Belichick's out of a job and he didn't get a job this coming year. I'm glad he didn't come to Philly. I know he almost went to Atlanta. I know some things, worked out where Arthur Blank put that call in and kind of put the kibosh to that shit. But, this is just more the reason why, he's definitely, I think maybe the game might have missed him. Something might have missed him. He might have kind of had his, it's been a little sleep at the wheel, because there's no way that, I mean, it's just like Damien Harris said. I mean, hell, man, you don't even hear anything about Mac Jones anymore. It was kind of like a flash in the pan, a moment in time, and then it was gone. And, it was unfortunate, but Bill definitely didn't do him a service, and it eventually led to his firing, which was kind of startling, too, because something I read article-wise was that Robert Kraft had considered firing Bill Belichick after the 2022 season, but that his son Jonathan Kraft was one that talked him out of it, so be that as it may, it's what caused Bill his job, and it's the reason why he's going to be doing shows with Peyton Manning on ESPN this fucking season. This next one is a little bit near and dear to my heart. It's a little bit of a funny factoid, but I want to make sure that I get this out there, because this just is an adage where, you got to know what you're trading for. You got to know what you're getting, because if you don't, it can wind up biting you in the ass. And what is it that I'm talking about, everybody? Hasson Reddick. Now, we all know Hasson Reddick was traded from the Eagles early this offseason, was traded to the Jets. We all know that the only reason why Hasson Reddick was traded from Philadelphia was because he wanted a new contract. We all knew Howie, wasn't going to give him a new contract. That's why Howie allowed him to shop and try to get elsewhere to possibly get the deal. That being said, trade happened about 2 or 3 months ago now, and Hasson Reddick has not been at, the facility or met his new teammates or anything. I'll be quite honest with you. I don't even think he's been in the fucking building. And it's because he wants his new deal. And he has yet to show up to the Jets mandatory minicamp, which has been cause for pause for the team, who has, this iota of hope because Aaron Rodgers is back this year and they're focused and they all know they're playing for their jobs. So it's, they're not happy that he's not there. Hasson Reddick, it was so serious. Hasson Reddick wouldn't give an interview to the New York Post about the subject and, politely passed on answering any questions. But it's known that he wants a new contract, so that's without a doubt. Reading the Jets' comments on it, though, was quite funny. Here we have, from NFL.com, I have the quotes here from Robert Saleh, and it goes as follows. I am focused on the guys who are here. Hasson's a pro. He's been in the league a while. He's produced at a very high level for a long time. He's got his routine. If it makes people feel better, we know where he's at. We know what he's doing. We know he's working his tail off to get where he needs to have a productive 24 season. Keep this in mind. If Reddick doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, he could be fined more than $50,000. It ain't about the money at this point. He done already coughed up money to miss the little voluntary camp. He don't give a fuck about the money. He wants his contract. And I don't understand how the Jets made this deal. But again, Jets being Jets. Why did you make this move if you weren't even sure you could pay the guy? I mean, yeah, he fits your scheme. Yeah, he fits the mold of what you want to do. Great depth piece at the position. He's been a great player. God knows Philadelphia. We probably wouldn't have been in the Super Bowl in 2022 without some of his defensive playmaking ability. Hell, I know last year he won games for them. He won games for the Eagles on defense with some of his plays. So I get why the Jets want him. But I don't understand for the life of me why you would trade for a guy but not give him the contract. And I hear some guys are saying, well, the Jets, this is a good problem to have. If I was them, I wouldn't sweat it. No, I would, because I think this guy's let it be known that he don't give a fuck about, being fined. He's going to sit out until he gets his money. So, Jets being Jets, boy, I tell you, it's just one of those things where it never ceases to amaze me. That being said, we're going to hop in next to Aleem McNeil, defensive tackle from the Detroit Lions, young upstart and young all-pro defensive tackle, Aleem McNeil, excuse me. He spoke on him and DJ Reader being a tandem, stated that they should be a great tandem together, and, quote, in my head, it just looks like destruction to me, honestly. He spoke to Lions beat reporter. There's no other way I can see it. Every time I close my eyes and visualize it, I just see destruction, honestly. That's great. That's fantastic on Aleem McNeil's part. Speaking on the potential of him and DJ Reader, we all know DJ Reader is a former All-Pro and Pro Bowler from Cincinnati. We all know DJ Reader could definitely play the position and is good and one of the best nose tackles in the game. That being said, DJ Reader has an extensive injury history. Let's not forget, he's coming off a quad injury that he literally just announced in January, I'll be back from, and then just announced literally a week ago, still recovering from it. I'm just going to say this much. If he is healthy, if DJ Reader is healthy, yes, him and Aleem McNeil should be a terror for any of them teams in the NFC or the NFC North, without a doubt. Looking at how history has subjected, DJ Reader to injuries and how we've seen the league rate of injury rates, do I think he's going to have another bad injury like he had with that quad injury? I don't know. I doubt it. However, that being said, to see that, for him to say, he sees nothing but destruction, that could possibly be a two-way street because DJ Reader has not played a full season in a couple years, so remains to be seen. Highlighting next, DJ Reader's former team. Great question was presented. I want to present this to you guys. Like I said, by all means, comment in the thread. I'll leave a post to definitely leave you guys a vote on it and talk about it. But what should the Bengals do if the team falls apart due to injury again this year? And I think that is a very interesting question to ask because the Bengals have been on the cusp for a couple years now. We know a couple years ago they made the Super Bowl. They lost the AFC title game in 2022. Should have been in the Super Bowl again. Injuries have derailed them. We all know Joe Burrow had got injured a year ago. Just something it's just always been something, some knick-knack or some nagging fucking injury that's caused this team to ascend to a level that we think they can ascend to or get back to. That being said, I think that if they suffer major injuries this year, you may have to consider, even though how young they are, you may have to consider breaking it up and starting over. Because you can't keep hinging your season on well, if Joe's healthy, well, you've been spending money on the offensive line and it hasn't gotten better. So is that your coaching? Or is that guys not playing hard enough? Or is that Joe holding onto the ball too long? Like, what is it? Because this team is not going any fucking where without Joe Burrow manning the ship. Because if Joe Burrow is healthy, we know he can beat a Patrick Mahomes. We know he can win an AFC in the playoffs. But without him, I don't see this happening. So it's a very interesting question to ask. Like I said, I'll leave it on the post for you guys to comment and feedback on. But what should the Bengals do if the team falls apart to injury this year? Last couple of things I want to wrap up with. One was Darren Waller. Darren Waller retired. He spoke on a scary medical condition that forced him into retirement. This injury apparently happened in November of 2023. I'm not sure if it was a panic attack or something, but basically he had issues breathing while he was at home. He said his passion for the game had faded. Now, it was interesting of note, I did some research on that 5-game stretch leading into when he played again at the end of November, beginning of December, or middle of December, essentially. He was battling with like hamstring and knee injuries, but you didn't see anything about this. And maybe they just, out of respect, didn't want to put it out there, but could have been a panic attack. Could have been, something with his lungs. I don't know. I don't want to speculate because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a PhD. But I'm just glad that he's the one thing that I harped on out of this interview was he said his passion for the game had faded, and I ultimately feel like when guys get to that point, step the fuck away before you suffer a serious injury or put yourself in a situation where you don't want to be. So I give Darren Waller credit. Damn shame his career was short. He was a good tight end, especially when he was healthy. Kind of more of a damnation on Dave Jones and the quarterbacks they had that this guy couldn't really get any burn in the rotation to get the ball. Speaks how shitty their offense is, but nonetheless, I'm going to wrap up today's episode with Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin. Now, I've been hearing all season low key about Mike Tomlin. It gets real nasty about addressing his tenureship with the Steelers, and it's one of those things where he gets real nasty and visceral about it, and I can see why, because today the Steelers and the NFL announced that Mike Tomlin agreed to a 3-year extension that will end in 2027. So now we know why Mike Tomlin bristles when he gets asked these questions. How disrespectful are people that this man never had a losing season? At the worst, he's going to give you a 500 ball club. At the best, he's going to give you an 11 to 13 win team. And yet this man's job is always called into question to be fired. There's always a call to arms to make sure that this man is being held to atonement for bad coaching decisions. When we see coaches make horrible fucking decisions that cost their teams games every week, yet this man is held to a certain atonement. I get it. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to another. Shout out to Mike Tomlin for getting this contract. This just puts to bed that he's going to be there. And ultimately, like I said earlier, in a previous episode, this is ultimately going to show what Russell Wilson and Justin Fields can do. Because Tomlin's there now. We know now for a fact he's inked in. He's there. So kudos to him. And it's going to be a very interesting season for the Pittsburgh Steelers to see how they develop and how far this team could possibly go. And that will do it for episode 40 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I thank you guys for always watching and listening. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Take care. Be safe. You have a great, guys have a great day.